Hi, this is Wendy Holloway, and we're talking about Italian summer wines. I need to get one little thing here set up. Uh, in any case, I think this is good enough. Whoopsie. Sorry about that. All right. As you all know, I'm a podcaster, and I did a podcast episode this week with Cynthia Chaplin. She's a sommelier, and we do lots of podcast episodes together. And frequently, if it's something really interesting and compelling, then I will dig deeper and take it into a newsletter format. And that's what I did this week. And then I thought, hey, what the heck? Why not talk about some of these wines with you? And so here I am. Now, I've heard from a lot of people that this is kind of a complicated time for them, what with vacations and lots of stuff that's going on in the summer. And, but nonetheless, there's also the option to listen to it because Substack does always do recordings of these live events. So, Cynthia always has incredible insight into wine, and her whole thing is Italian wine. So she's great with that. I have other friends on Substack and all over the place who are wonderful wine experts. But Cynthia and I have known each other quite a few years, and I always feel that I come away as if I've done kind of a tasting or a class with her. She's so full of information. And uh, so one thing I do need to add about Cynthia, and actually there is a lot of new stuff that Cynthia's doing, some which I can disclose and some that I can't just yet, but you'll be happy when you hear the undisclosable thing down the road. So Cynthia's been working on two wine books. One she's really just gotten going on, and the other is her first book, which is coming out in early 2026. Now, that may sound like a ways away. It's actually just 6 months. So, and that book is Italian Rosés, A Glass with Many Colors. And I really promise you that it's going to reshape how you think about rosé and all its different nuanced shades. I think well, I know that often rosé has a bad reputation as, oh, that's a girl's drink, or it's for grandmas, it's only for the summer. That's absolutely not the case. And well, France has amazing rosé wines. We know that, and they really paved the way. But Italy has incredible rosé wines, and I would say rosé wine is my favorite. So many of these wines are drinkable all year round. So don't think of them as just a summer wine because they really aren't. Um, so, and all these wines that we're talking about, and what I love about Italian wine, and I think it's true with other countries as well, but I know my country the best, is all these wines really reflect the place that they come from. And the stuff that we're eating this summer, these kind of uh, minimal cooking, fresh, picking. I'm looking out at my garden right now. You pick things from the garden. These nice, fresh 17 Italian summer wines that Cynthia has shared really pair with all of these kinds of things. Um, so really, what makes a great summer wine. So basically, when it really gets hot, and it's always flirting here in Rome right now with 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So you reach for something really cool, water, yeah, and you want a wine that is also nice and cool and refreshing, and that is kind of a, let's call it a gluggable wine, so that you can drink without worrying about getting tipsy, let's say. So you want wines that are lighter in body, lower in alcohol, and higher in acidity. So why is that? You want them to refresh rather than fatigue, and they those kinds of wine parameters pair well with what we're craving in the heat, like the grilled vegetables, your lemony seafood, raw salads, antipasti. So you're going to look for a wine that has minimal oak aging, really none at all, let's say, and that helps preserve their brightness and keep them chillable in the case of red wines. I've always felt, oh no, don't chill a red wine. But if it's made in steel and not in oak, um, it is delightfully chillable. And when it's nice and cool, not like out of the freezer cool, but just gently chilled, there's a whole other flavor profile that emerges, and you'll find really enjoyable. So a lot of these wines, okay, so the fact with making wine in stainless steel is, ergo, there's little to no tannins. And then the other, you don't want to chill. You might have a red wine that's made in stainless steel, but you want to pick recent vintages. That's kind of the key. And think of them as your red wine palate cleansers, if you wish. Lots of the wines we're talking about for summer come from Italian coastal or high altitude vineyards, and these are the terroirs that produce grapes with kind of a vivid acidity and saline minerality, which is wonderful. Um, Back to the Italian rosés, there are a few I'd like to mention. Two bottles in particular that really stand out. And one is the Rosa d'Amalfi from the Campania region, which is south, let's say central south. So it's not quite deep south of Italy, but it's definitely south. And this Rosa d'Amalfi, it's a women-owned vineyard, Marisa Cuomo, and her her vineyard is a great vineyard to visit if you're not like nervous about heights and you're pretty stable footing, because her vines are what we call heroic vineyards. Heroic means that they are grown on like a steep slope going down like this. And they're heroic because they manage to grow in spite of the conditions that they are in. So this vineyard is perched high above the Amalfi Coast in Furore. And she generally, Marisa, she crafts these wines under these extraordinary conditions. And these terraced vineyards, they cling to this like near vertical rock faces. So those of you who've been to Positano or driven along the Amalfi Coast, and you might feel like, this is too much for me. Well, that's the kind of vineyard that she has. And one of the grapes, and this particular Rosa d'Amalfi rosé, is made from a Piedirosso grape, which means red feet. So, and that's a nod to the color of the stems. And this grape is often used in blends and Campagna wines, but its subtle elegance comes out in the rosé format. So that's one. And these are all wines that you can find in the United States and outside of Italy, but some of them you might have to dig a little bit more than others. Um, I've kind of said what I won't go into the super details of what it pairs with because all these summer wines we're talking about pair well with, the chilled seafood. Think something like an octopus salad or shrimp with lemon, roasted red pepper bruschetta, grilled zucchini, caprese salad, which is really from that area, Campania. And if you go to my Substack newsletter that came out yesterday evening, my time, so midday your time, there's links to all of these wineries as well, which is good. Now, the next rosé that I am just entirely charmed by is called Five Roses, and it's from Puglia, so we're moving further south. And the winery is called Leone de Castris. And we had friends visiting, so you can't really get the beauty of the bottle, but I am going to show you the bottle. Here it is, empty, however. And it says here, Leone de Castris, 1665. So this is a very old rosé. And I forgot I even had it because it should be, I got it in, it was like 2020, and now we are 2025. When I told Cynthia I had this bottle, she said, get it in the refrigerator. So I was sort of apprehensive about serving it to our guests, but pleasantly surprised that it held itself well for 5 years. I'm not recommending that, but it does. So this is the first ever rosé wine to be exported to the United States. And I love the story of how that came about. So during World War II, when glass bottling was scarce and most Italian men were off at war, the resourceful Contessa of the Leone de Castris family, she got all the women from the estate and taught them how to keep the winery running, teaching them how to do the men's jobs of these men who were off at war. So she trained them in their husbands' jobs. She also paid them the same wages, and she built a school in the middle of the vineyard so they could care for their children during the day, which I just think it's lovely. So back to the glass shortage. So here we have, all during the war, American soldiers who come and they bring all their stuff with them. So they bring their chocolate, they bring their American bacon, and they bring lots of beer bottles. So these soldiers came into town, they were drinking their American beer, they left their bottles around, and the Contessa had all the women who worked in the winery go up and gather these beer bottles. Why? Because as I said before, glass was scarce, so they washed them out and they bottled their rosé wine in it, this Five Roses wine. And the Five Roses, that name comes from the five family elements, the branches within the family. So they bottled it up, and then one of the family members had an important birthday, an 18th birthday party celebration. 18th is like an American 21st birthday celebration. And she invited the American general, and the soldiers came. And they came and they drank their rosé wine in the American beer bottles. And they loved it. In fact, they bought the entire production year of this wine and took it back to the States. So that's that little story. And I just think it's so charming. Now, this rosé is made with the Negro Amaro grapes, which is native to Puglia, and it's known for producing robust, deeply colored reds and structured rosés with flavors of, let's say, dark berries, dried herbs, and kind of a pleasant, bitter finish. Truly a delightful wine. So again, the link to that website is on my Substack newsletter. And then sparkling wines, um, great Italian bubbles. So we all think about Prosecco when we think of Italian bubbly wine, but move over Prosecco because there's a whole world of Italian sparkling wines that offer more depth, minerality, and intrigue. One is a winery, Lessini Durello Dalmaso, in the Veneto region. So up northern Italy, where Venice is. And this winery, the vines are grown in the volcanic soils of the Lessini Mountains north of Verona, where my friend Cynthia actually lives. And the grape, the Durella grape, is really one of Italy's unsung heroes. It's known for its steering acidity and bracing minerality, and it really finds its most elegant expression in these sparkling wines at Dalmaso. These wines are made crafting with the metodo classico, the traditional method. So these are ones you're going to definitely want to seek out. Really, it's a dream pairing with fried fish, oysters, vegetable tempura, hard alpine cheeses because you're getting up north, marinated artichokes, which you would find jarred in the summer months, or even just a simple plate of pasta with, let's say, lemon and anchovies, fresh anchovies, which are delightful. Another is Erbaluce Spumante, and this is from Piedmont region. The winery is Ciek, Cieck, and Erbaluce is a white grape native to northern Piedmont. It's high in acidity, and it's naturally elegant. And it's long been used to make still, sparkling, and even pasito-style wines. This spumante version that Ciek does is done with the metodo classico, and that really shows how expressive this grape can actually be. The winemaker that Cynthia sort of turned me on to is Lia Falconieri, and she produces an Erbaluce that's really floral and citrusy, and think notes of chamomile and green apple and fresh herbs. It has a really fine perlage that gives it a creamy, delightful texture. So definitely go for that. Now, I'm going to mention a wine here that most people, and I guess me too, when she first brought it up, is cringeworthy, and that's Lambrusco. I think people of, let's say, my generation, so I'm not speaking to the really super young wine appreciators out there today, but the Lambrusco was really pretty brutal some years ago. But Lambrusco is one of Italy's oldest wine styles, and it dates back to the Roman times. But it's really battled this bad reputation for sweet, forgettable fizz. there's a winery called Lini 910, Lini 910, and they really led the way to remake and restyle and refashion Lambrusco. And they craft these dry, complex, food-friendly, sparkling reds that celebrate this grape's rustic charm and its regional heritage. They've been making, the Lini family has been making Lambrusco since 1910, ergo the winery is named Lini 910. And it showcases the several styles of Lambrusco, including red, rosé, and white, which is made from the Lambrusco Salamino. And they're all vinified in dry, crisp styles. So that's definitely one to seek out as well. And these wines are made with the Metodo Classico and also the Charmat method, which is depending on the cuvee. So imagine them with the cuisine of the region, Emilia-Romagna, which has wonderful, rich dishes. So think gnocco fritto with prosciutto, mortadella, tagliatelle with ragu. And its gentle fizz and refreshing acidity cuts through the richness of these dishes and just perfect pairing. Then let's talk a little bit about some white wines, and let's think crisp and coastal and mountain fresh. One I love, and one Cynthia talked about, is the Vermentino di Gallura. And she emphasizes, okay, don't think just Vermentino, think Vermentino di Gallura. Now, this is down in Sardinia, so it's one of the two island wines that we're talking about today. And she particularly mentions Piero Mancini, winemaker. And this Vermentino di Gallura has the distinction of being the only DOCG wine in the region. And it's a reflection of the fact that they're able to make these wonderful structured aromatic whites. So think of the Gallura zone, which is to the island's northeast, and it's defined by like granite-rich soils and steady sea breezes, strong sunlight. And these conditions with a maritime climate really add to these flavorful, intense minerality, excellent acidity wines. Seek out Piero Mancini. He's wonderful. Let's go back up to Piedmont and talk about Timo Rasso and the winemaker Walter Massa in Piedmont. Timo Rasso is a grape that was, at a certain point, nearly extinct. And now it's become a cult wine thanks to the dedication of this winemaker, Walter Massa. And the grape is native to the Colli, the Tortonesi, so the hills on the southeastern Piedmont region. The wines are rich and structured with great aging potential. So that is what you could leave around for 5 years, even longer than that, which is kind of unusual for a white. Again, served like super cold, but not icy. And website again in my newsletter. And then Orvieto Classico, the Castello della Sala. Now, Umbria is one of the few landlocked regions of Italy. It's the region that's just north of the region, Lazio, where Rome is. So if you happen to travel to Rome, go to Orvieto. I mean, there's so much to see there, um, regardless, and sample these wines and go to the winery. This is a winery, this Castello della Sala. It's owned by the very well-known Antinori family. And it's really a super elegant, modern expression of this Orvieto Classico. The wine is a blend of the Grechetto and Trebbiano grapes with just a touch of Verdello and Drupeggio. And they're all grown in the chalky hills outside of the beautiful, exquisite town of Orvieto. Then let's move to the Marche, and that's the opposite coast of where you see Rome on the Adriatic coast. And I think in English you call it the Marches region, but it's Marche. And the winery Umani Ronchi makes incredible Verdicchio. Incredible Verdicchio. So think like green almond and fennel and Adriatic salinity, and you kind of come to what this Verdicchio does in a glass. It's fantastic. Verdecca, which is a grape that I also learned about from Cynthia. We're back down to Puglia again, and it's a lesser known white grape grown mainly in the Valle d'Itria, and it was long used in the production of vermouth. Think of that. So with this produces, and using the Verdecca grape, it's really given new life and a refreshing life to this varietal of wine. And it's historic. So maybe grapes that have kind of fallen into the background, but this is definitely now a wonderful one to check out. Um, I mentioned also, without a lot of detail, some Alto Adige wines. Think Kerner and Silvaner. Um, I have a link so you can check those out. I wanted to move on to some of the chillable reds, because if that's something that appeals to you, it's definitely worth checking out these. So again, remember what we said in the very beginning. You want an early vintage year, maybe this year or at the most last year. You want no tannins or almost no tannins. So in other words, no oak and made in steel. And then with those kind of guidelines, you come up with something that's wonderful, bottled and room temperature in the usual red way, but chilled to vine. So we're going to pop to the Veneto again and talk about Bardolino. So Bardolino is a light-bodied red wine, and it's made primarily using the Corvina grape. And that's the same variety that's used in the more structured red Valpolicella wines. But while Valpolicella has oak aging and these deeper, more tannic reds, that's not the case with Bardolino, and it's made to be drunk young and fresh. Uh, it has wonderful, soft floral notes, bright red fruit character, and another word I used in the very beginning about the chillable reds is gluggable. So you very low alcohol content, and you don't have to worry about having a big swish and another one right after it. So Bardolino DOC is located along the eastern shores of Lake Garda, and it benefits from a mild, temperate microclimate that gives the wines that silky texture and vibrant acidities. You want it chilled, but not overly, so maybe chilled for 20 minutes just to transform it into a perfect summer red. Like all the other suspects and with pairing, pair it with everything from grilled vegetables, marinated anchovies, again, a cold roast chicken, roast red peppers. Perfect. Another one in Piedmont that's a chillable red that I love, and I've never drunk it chilled actually, is Ruche. Ruche with an accent, from Montalbera. And it's one of Italy's most aromatic red grapes, native to the hills around Castagnole Monferrato in Piedmont. And Montalbera is a top producer, crafting this unoaked expression that showcases this wonderful grape's floral and spicy character. Another great one, and this is a young guy that makes this wine, is in Veneto again, so up near Venice. The winery is called Le Carline, and the wine is Refosco. 0 sulfates, so absolutely no sulfates. And he makes a point of the way he produces his wines. He's young and energetic and makes these sustainably produced wines that really burst with blackberry and spice flavor tones. And I love the fact of what he is doing sustainability-wise. And then we're kind of jumping all over the country, but in order of the wine type. So now we're jumping way back down to another island, to Sicily, for Planeta. And I think many of you might know that winery. And we're talking about Frappato, Frappato. And this hails from southeastern Sicily, and it's known for bright fruit, low to no tannins, and really kind of a breezy elegance. Easy to find in the States because Planeta's well known in the States. It's got light body, crisp acidity, it's often drunk with these things that I'll mention to pair with that are typical to Sicily, like grilled tuna, couscous, pizza margherita, roasted vegetables. And it really does well in the summer heat of Italy. Back up to the very, very, very top is a wine called Schiava in Alto Adige. And it's known as Vernatsch, Vernatsch, in German-speaking Alto Adige. So we really are up at the northernmost border of Italy. And this Schiava is a beloved local grape, and it yields bright, delicate reds. It has a translucent ruby color, light body, ideal, super ideal for warm weather drinking. And then Liguria, also north, but not quite as north, is the Rossese. So that's Rossese. And this is grown on the steep coastal terraces of western Liguria. And it's a light red grape with really a pronounced aromatic lift. Um, Lively acidity. You can sort of expect flavors of pomegranate, raspberry, again, wild herbs. It's great to pair with local Ligurian dishes like rabbit stewed with olives, trofie with pesto, fried anchovies. Really great to drink cool and young. Um, then they have one version of that that is without sulfates. So you might want to get that one as well. I prepared for the very end of the newsletter a chart that you'll find as um, like a PNG. So it's got the wine, the region, and the category, the names of the wines. I'll just show you roughly what it looks like. So you could really print that, take it with you to your um, wherever it is that you buy wine or have on your refrigerator to say, oh, I'm going to get this. And so we've covered 11 wines from 11 regions, including 2 islands. Um, Cynthia always comes up with great choices. We often do a podcast about Italian summer wines, and she certainly did not disappoint. So that's it, everyone. And if you have any questions, uh, any curiosities about some of these wines, shoot me a message through Substack or wendy@flavorofitaly.com, and I'll get back to you. If you're trying to find one of these wines in particular, I can help you do that as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy these wines that will really cut through the heat this summer. And they're all wonderful wines to entertain with. Thanks.